Well, here we are. And I gave you forewarning. I told you we'd get to this point in the day. That now is the moment where we turn the camera back on you and get your reflections. Because what have we done? We had incredible presentations reflecting on the experience in the US and in Europe from Andrew and Peter. We had that incredibly exciting announcement from the Assistant Minister around the fact that we're turning a new page, learning the lessons from the past and putting some ambition back into our energy efficiency policy, stepping back, reflecting, but then acting is what I heard from the Assistant Minister today. So we're looking forward to working through that process. But we also heard there's distinct opportunities and challenges in every part of the economy, and that's something that we all need to be very mindful of. Energy efficiency works at the 50,000 foot wonk level, but actually there's the way we tell that story and the way that we drive that change is very different depending on which part of the economy we're working in. I'm conscious that there are some sectors we haven't talked about today. One of our partners, our supporting partners on this event is National Farmers Federation. We need to have a conversation about agriculture next time we come back together. That was a panel that was industrial, but was very focused on manufacturing. We need to have a conversation about our resources sector, and I think that next time we come together, we should do a deep dive on those sectors as well. So that was me giving you some thinking time. Here's how this is going to work. You're going to put up your hand. There's going to be a microphone that comes towards you. And you wait until the microphone's there to start talking. So everyone listening in online at home is able to hear your words of wisdom. If we can keep it to 30, 40 seconds, so just like a pithy insight so we can get to as many of you as possible before 5 p.m, that would be amazing. So who wants to be the brave person that kicks us off this afternoon? There we go. Mary, thank you. Mary Stewart, CEO of Energetics and President of the Energy Efficiency Council. Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Luke. And this just goes to show that I always do what Luke tells me to.
You're a good president.
My observation for today is that when we heard from the Minister about the launch of the National Energy Performance Strategy, I'm not going to get it right.
I think Alison's decided we're calling it NEPS.
Was a bit of a softly approach. We want to enable, we want to take the barriers out the way, we want to help. And yet from the rest of the speakers, there was much more of an ambition for change and a drive forward. And I suppose it might be that we need to go back to the Minister and say industry is more ready, or rather it is a call to the people in the room, is to say whenever you have the opportunity to comment on the policy, is to speak to the change. Let's not make this a softly approach. We have to change now. We can't wait. We can't enable. We have to act. So when you do make input to the policy, make it active and really look to drive change.
Thanks, Mary. Round of applause for ambition. Do we have another taker at the back of the room? Chris. You should introduce yourself and the organisation you're representing.
My name is Chris Nunn. I'm the Head of Sustainability at AMP Capital Real Estate, and I've also been the past chair of the board of the Australian Passive House Association, which is one of the partners of the event. And my question relates to Passive House because, I often hear in energy efficiency circles reference to residential efficiency standards like NatHERS and the STAR rating system, which is based on a natural ventilation strategy. And you've made reference of the Australia-Germany partnership. I think we should be talking a lot more about Passive House as a solution for all building types, particularly residential. It's a ready-made German best practice energy efficiency standard with 30 years of track record and delivers 90% lower energy consumption, as well as healthy and comfortable houses. So it doesn't get mentioned at Energy Efficiency Summits enough, and so I thought I'd just take the opportunity to give it a spruik. And I think there is an opportunity, with reference to all the talk of carrots, sticks and tambourines, right? So, sticks, yes, we're lifting the National Construction Code. That needs to happen, and it needs to be net zero carbon ready in the next 2 cycles to meet our trajectory. Carrots, we should be broadly incentivising the leaders to be building to Passive House to exemplify the end state. This is a zero carbon ready, all electric, Passive House certified exemplar project that can be built today for 3 to 8% higher construction costs. So let's do it. And then tambourines. We should be celebrating that, there are these buildings being built all around Australia. You know, Monash, Gillies Hall, 150 bed student
Yep.
accommodation building, fantastic, global exemplar, was represented at COP26 as one of the 17, you know, buildings highlighted in the pavilion. Like, we don't celebrate that enough, right? So we did talk a lot today about the commercial building success, but I think Passive House is a secret weapon in this energy efficiency story, which we should talk about more.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Stand up. Yes.
Hey,
Am I-
Nick.
Hello. Am I facing somewhere?
I
No.
think you just look at me and it's all
Oh,
under control.
Hi, Luke. Nicolette.
Hi, Nick. Lovely to have you with us.
Thank you. Thanks
Welcome
for having
back.
Me. Yes, I'm back. NatHERS 1996.
Indeed.
Oh my gosh.
There's some more stories.
Nicolette Buller, the Smart Energy Council today. My sort of takeout was it's a really busy space. We're talking electric vehicles, electrifying homes. There's some possibly sexier things, obviously not the energy
It's all
efficiency.
sexy. I think that's what we
It is
established
indeed.
today.
But I'd like to put the challenge to you that not just have the farmers in the room,
Yep.
but also let's have the communicators and storytellers.
Yep.
Because I think if we are going to keep the energy efficiency conversation in competition with all of these other plans and strategies that the government is rolling out, it's a very big task. And even though it's wonderful to be back amongst you technical people and policy wonks, we need to bring those people in because there's some wonderful stories to celebrate, and we need to make sure we have that clear way to have our, not just celebrate that, but also our social licence to deliver everything I heard on renters, low-income housing and those sorts of things. They need to be done immediately to clear the way for everything else to happen. So we need to storytell.
Here, here. Thank you. Who's next? Hello. Hi, Alex.
Alex Waldron from Master Builders Association.
Can you stand up so the camera
really?
can get come on?
Look, just on your comment on Passive House, totally agree with you. Some of the feedback we've got from our membership is that that's just totally excluded from the construction code changes and actually should have been there. The next thing I want to say is just the conflicts in price and the conflicts in policy priorities. So, you know, we've got an affordable housing agenda and we've got a quality agenda. And the National Housing and Homelessness Agreement Productivity Commission review picked this up. The problem is that affordability point, and we actually need to do more work around resolving that problem to bring about the quality as well. And that's a big problem for the tail of the housing sector. It's like we're talking about with industry and the steel industry as well. It's that smaller end of the market that needs to come along the journey, that needs the support to do that. We need to get that right, and we haven't got that right yet. That's
Hey,
it.
thanks, Alex. I reckon we've got time for two more. Chris?
Thanks, Luke. Yeah, Chris Lee from Climate Kick. So one of the things that I really reflected on is there's lots of work going on in the background, and we're working with EEC and lots of people in this room. But it really comes to that, we've really got to continue to take a systems approach and really understand the whole system, because it's not one little intervention, it's not a policy thing that's going to come on from high from government. It's going to be a whole suite of interventions. And it's the coordination and collaboration that we need across those spaces that's going to be really critical in actually getting the action that we need quick enough, you know, to make sure that we're actually, you know, driving the pace of change. So I think that systems view is going to be really important. And what I see, it's not really clear where that sits. So I think we have to keep doing what we're doing and working together so that we can keep building out that picture and working out where it lands.
All right, thank you. And we've got one last comment at the back of the room.
Thanks, Luke Reid from Australian Conservation Foundation. One thing I thought was a little bit missing, was mentioned a few times, but around the climate side of things, was around resilience and including that in this. So we're expecting, you know, a 6-star home now in 2090 is going to be a 1-star home. And so what does that look like for our current buildings, let alone, you know, our new buildings, let alone our current buildings? And then the impact on communities around, like a few people have mentioned, around the cost of living and so on. But I think the piece that hasn't been talking about is outside of the energy space, the strategy needs to look at the rental laws. So I'm talking about private rentals here and the different needs between, say, the different types of social housing needing funding and so on compared to renters who don't have control, and then having that sort of legislative base and having the different state governments getting on board.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. All right, so for my money, and I'll bring us home, like, it's just been incredible being in the room with all of you, and I feel like we have many, if not all of the people we need in this room, noting Nick's comment that we need the storytellers and perhaps we need some of the other sectors coming to the party. But the depth of knowledge and the deep commitment in this room and tuning in around the country, the relationships, as Chris spoke to, this is our moment to come together and work together and to work out who's doing what, to work across purposes, collaborate, work out who's doing which job and that we're all pulling in the same direction and we can get this done, which I'm incredibly excited about. It's been a tough period of time. There's been a lot of false starts, but through adversity, I think we're pretty battle-hardened and we're fired up and ready to go, and I'm really excited about getting this done. The opportunity is now. I want to acknowledge the leadership of the Assistant Minister, Jenny McAllister, in starting a process that we can all engage in, and I look forward to working with you all to land that plan and then to act on it, and that's what we got to do. To our keynotes, Assistant Minister McAllister, Commissioner McAllister, Peter, Siemens, thanks so much for the support. Thank you also to Mirvac for hosting us. It's an incredible space. The view hasn't been that great. As it turns out, Andrew got better weather in Melbourne than he did in Sydney, which I'm pretty excited about as a Melburnian. Our summit partners, ACOS, AI Group and the Property Council, it's been an incredible joint effort pulling this together. And the supporting partners that backed all of this in and helped us get the word out and helped us get all those people online. We couldn't have done it without you. The Energy Efficiency Council's team been doing a huge amount of work in the background. So Danica, Tim, Katie and Nat, thanks for all your hard work. But for now, look at this, it's 4:58 and I'm done. Actually finished this bloody event on time and on budget, and I can report that there's some drinks out in the hallway, so you've got 2 extra minutes to get into them. So thank you all for being here in person. Looking forward to continuing the conversation, and maybe we'll have to all get back together this time next year and reflect on what's been achieved over what is, I'm no doubt, going to be a very big year for energy efficiency in Australia. Thank you all.